At dinner, my girlfriend laughed to her friends. "He's sweet, but so below my level." They all laughed until I smiled and said, "Then you'll love life without me." I paid the bill and left. That night, one of her friends texted me, "You did the right thing." She's been bragging she could do better. At dinner, she laughed, and not the warm kind, but the kind that cuts. Her friends joined in, glasses clinking, voices too loud. "He's sweet," she said, smirking. "But honestly, he's just below my level." The table laughed. I didn't. I just looked at her, the woman I once thought I'd build a future with, and said quietly, "Then you'll love life without me." You could feel the air shift. Her laughter stopped mid-breath. Even her friends stared like they just witnessed something real for the first time that night. I didn't argue, didn't explain. I placed my card on the table, paid the bill, and walked out before dessert arrived. No shouting, no scene, just calm detachment. Because when someone mocks you in public, you don't need to fight for their respect. You just leave. That night, while she was still posting birthday photos with fake smiles, one of her friends texted me, "You did the right thing." She's been saying she could do better for weeks. She finally found out what better really means. We'd been together for almost 2 years. Not a fairy tale kind of love, just something steady, comfortable, predictable. I worked as a design engineer, long hours but stable pay. She worked in marketing, all client dinners, rooftop events, and endless stories about networking. She used to say she loved how grounded I was, that I didn't need to show off to feel confident. That was before her world got louder, before the new friends, the weekend brunches that looked more like photo oots, the endless talk about levels. When she turned 28, I planned something thoughtful. Her favorite restaurant downtown, warm lighting, soft jazz, the kind of place that makes you forget the noise outside. I booked it 2 weeks in advance, made sure her closest friends could come, even brought a small gift, a bracelet she'd once pointed at while window shopping. Everything started perfectly. She looked stunning. Her friends were warm, and for a while I actually thought, this is one of those nights we'll remember. But I'd started noticing subtle shifts over the past few months. Little comments about my job, how it wasn't really her crowd. Jokes about how I still wear the same watch from college. The kind of remarks you brush off the first few times until they start to sound like truth she's too cowardly to say directly. That night, I saw it unfold in real time. It started small. A question from one of her friends, half curious, half probing. "So, do you ever think about switching careers? You're too smart to stay where you are, right?" Before I could even answer, she cut in with that polished laugh I used to love. "Oh, he's comfortable where he is. He likes his little projects. It's cute." Honestly, the word cute hung there, a polite insult wrapped in charm. Her friends laughed, maybe not realizing how deep it cut, but she saw it. She always saw it. That was the point. It wasn't about impressing them. It was about proving something to herself that she was above me now. I stayed quiet, smiled, even raised my glass when someone proposed a toast. Because I wasn't going to give her what she wanted, a reaction. People like her feed on embarrassment. They confuse someone's silence for weakness. But silence, when chosen, is a weapon sharper than pride. When the check came, she leaned over and whispered, "Don't be mad. I was just joking." I smiled. "I know I'm just done laughing." She didn't get it at first. None of them did. Until I stood up, placed my card on the tray, and said calmly, "Then you'll love life without me." The rest, the stunned faces, the quiet tension, the awkward shuffle of napkins, that's all background noise. Now, what I remember most clearly is the feeling. Not sadness, not anger, just clarity. The kind that hits you when you finally stop explaining your worth to someone who doesn't see it. Later that night, I packed the things she'd left at my place. Her charger, her sweater, that overpriced skincare she swore I'd ruin if I touched. I didn't delete photos or block her immediately. I didn't need to. When you're really done, you don't rage. You go quiet. I thought that was the end of it until a message popped up on my phone around midnight from one of her friends at the dinner. "Hey, I just wanted to say you handled that perfectly. She's been talking behind your back for weeks, saying she could do better, that she's only staying because you're safe." I guess she finally said it out loud. I didn't reply. Not because it didn't matter, but because it finally didn't hurt. That message didn't surprise me. It just confirmed what I already knew. She'd stopped being my partner long before that dinner. She was just waiting for the moment I'd give her a reason to leave. What she didn't expect was that I'd leave first. The next morning, I woke up to a dozen missed calls and a wall of unread messages, all from Mia. "Can we talk? You just walked out." That was immature. It was a joke. Don't make this dramatic. I stared at the screen for a while before putting the phone face down on the table. I wasn't angry anymore, just done. I made coffee, sat by the window, and watched the sunlight crawl across the counter. That quiet moment of stillness felt better than any apology she could ever send. That quiet moment of stillness felt better than any apology she could ever send. Around noon, there was a knock on my door, and when I opened it, she was standing there, sunglasses on, hair tied neatly, holding a small paper bag. "Can we talk?" she asked softly. I stepped aside. She walked in, looked around the apartment like she was seeing it for the first time. "You really just left last night," she said. "You embarrassed me?" I raised an eyebrow. "You're embarrassed? That's interesting." She sighed, sat down on the couch, and placed the paper bag on the table. Inside was the silver necklace I'd given her, the one from the night before. "You should take this back," she said. "I don't feel right keeping it." I glanced at it. "Keep it. It fits who you were last night better than it ever fit us." Her jaw tightened. "You're really going to end things over one stupid comment." I leaned against the counter. "It wasn't one comment, Mia. It was a mirror. You finally said out loud what you've been thinking for months." She looked down, silent. Then, in a smaller voice, "I didn't mean it like that." "You meant it exactly like that," I said. "You just didn't expect me to hear it." Her eyes flickered with something. Guilt, pride, maybe both. Then she asked, "So what now? You just walk away." "Yeah," I said simply. "That's exactly what I'm doing." She stood up, grabbed her bag, and for a second I thought she'd try to cry, but she didn't. She just said, "You'll regret this. People don't leave me like this." I smiled faintly. "Then I guess I'll be the first." She left without another word. The door closed. The silence that followed wasn't heavy. It was peaceful. That night I finally turned my phone back on. Dozens of messages, mostly from her, some angry, some pleading, and then one from a number I didn't recognize. "Hey, I was at dinner last night. You did the right thing. I probably shouldn't say this, but she's been talking behind your back for weeks. Said she was only with you because you're safe." I stared at the message, read it twice. No shock, no pain, just confirmation. I typed back a simple thanks, then deleted the thread. A few days passed. No contact, no updates. The kind of silence that tells you a chapter has officially closed. Then out of nowhere, a mutual friend texted me a screenshot. Mia's latest post. A photo of her at a bar, drink in hand, captioned, "Learning to let go and grow." The irony almost made me laugh. People love to talk about growth when they're the reason something died. I scrolled past it and went back to work, but later that week I got another message. This time from Jenna, the friend who'd asked about the gala. "Hey, I don't know if you want to hear this, but Mia's been seeing her old boss. It's been going on for months. We all knew, but she told everyone you two were open. I didn't realize she never told you." For a while I just sat there reading it over and over, not in disbelief and in realization, because deep down, I'd already known the late nights, the sudden work trips, the way she flinched when her phone buzzed during dinner. It all made sense now. And the worst part, I wasn't even angry, just tired. A few nights later, I got another message. This one anonymous. "HR's investigating your girlfriend and her boss." Someone sent screenshots of their messages. "She's in trouble." I didn't ask who sent it. I didn't care. I just sat there sipping my coffee, staring at the city lights outside my window. Somewhere in that silence I realized something important. Revenge wasn't necessary. People who betray you always find their own punishment. They do it slowly. Onelli, one careless laugh at a dinner table at a time. By the end of the week, her social media was gone. Mutual friends stopped mentioning her. It was like she'd evaporated. And honestly, that felt fitting. When people ask me what happened, I tell them the truth. Nothing dramatic, just a quiet ending that should have happened sooner. Because sometimes love doesn't end with shouting or closure. It ends with a calm voice saying, Then maybe you deserve someone higher. And the sound of footsteps walking away, steady, certain, and free. It had been almost 3 weeks since that dinner, long enough for the noise to die down. I hadn't heard from Mia again, not directly at least. Just whispers through mutual friends, pieces of gossip that floated around and eventually found their way to me. Apparently, she'd been taking time to heal, whatever that meant. Then, one evening, I got a message from Jenna again. Hey, just a heads up. Things are getting bad for her. HR found out about the affair. Someone sent screenshots. Her boss is suspended. She's next. I read it once. Then again, Anne set my phone down. No rush of satisfaction, no vindication, just stillness. The kind of silence that happens when justice unfolds on its own. Slow, quiet, inevitable. The next day, I stopped by a cafe I used to go to with Mia. The barista recognized me and smiled. Haven't seen you in a while. Everything good, better than it's been in a long time, I said. I sat by the window with my coffee, watching people rush by. It struck me how ordinary peace feels after chaos. How it doesn't roar or announce itself. It just exists. Later that night, another message came, this time from an unknown number. You probably don't want to hear from me, but I'm sorry. For everything, I didn't need to ask who it was. The way it was written, and too careful, too polished, it was her. I lost my job, she wrote. They said it was for professionalism, but we both know why. I just wish you'd talked to me before you walked away. I stared at the screen for a long time before typing a single reply. You talked plenty. I just started listening. Then I turned off my phone. A few days later, Jenna texted again. You know what's ironic? After she got fired, she tried blaming you. Said you set her up. HR looked into it. Found messages where she bragged about the relationship herself. They're considering pressing charges for data misuse. I didn't respond. There was nothing to say because the truth was I hadn't done a thing. I didn't leak anything. Didn't send proof. Didn't even tell anyone what I knew. I'd simply walked away. And somehow walking away was enough. That's the thing about people who build their lives on pretending to be above everyone else. They forget how fragile the ground beneath them really is. Weeks passed. Her name came up less and less. Work got busier. Life went back to its quiet rhythm. Morning coffee, late drives, small moments that made sense again. Then one night I got another message. This time from Jenner. Not gossip, just honesty. You know, I always admired how calm you were. That night everyone expected you to shout or make a scene, but you didn't. You just left. She couldn't stop talking about it afterward. Said it was the first time she ever felt small. I smiled at that. Not out of spite, just recognition. That moment at the restaurant wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming something I didn't even realize I'd lost. Self-respect. A month later, I ran into Jenna by chance. Same cafe. She waved, asked if she could join me. We talked about work, life, everything in between. There was an ease to it. No pretense, no games. When she laughed, it wasn't loud or forced. It sounded like something real. Before leaving, she said quietly, you know, she never really understood what she lost. She thought power came from status, but it came from silence, and you had that all along. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just nodded. After she left, I looked out at the street, the same one I'd driven down that night after the dinner. Everything looked different now. Not brighter, not darker, just clearer. Later that evening, another message arrived, this time from Mia. The number was new, but the tone wasn't. I heard you're seeing Jenna. I guess she got what she wanted. I didn't reply. Not because she was wrong, but because the version of me she remembered would have replied. And that version didn't exist anymore. She once said I was below her level. Maybe she was right, because the kind of peace I have now shall never reach it. Life has a strange way of settling after the storm. Not all at once, but piece by piece like dust finding its way back to the ground after something breaks. It had been a few months since that dinner, since the laughter, the walk out, the silence that followed. By then, everything about Mia felt distant, like a chapter I'd already underlined, closed, and filed away. Work was steady. Weekends were quiet. I started cooking more, reading again, doing the small things I'd ignored when my life revolved around keeping someone else happy. Every once in a while, her name would pop up in conversations or online. Someone would mention seeing her somewhere, or she'd post a quote about growth or healing, but it never made me feel anything. Not bitterness, not nostalgia, just a strange calm indifference. Because when you finally make peace with what happened, you stop replaying it. One Saturday morning, I stopped by that same cafe again, the one with the quiet corner table and the smell of roasted beans that always clung to your clothes. Jenna was there. She waved when she saw me. "You always sit in the same spot," she teased. "Old habits," I said, smiling. We talked. Not about Mia, not even about the past. Just life, work, random things. It felt easy, natural. At one point, she said, "You know, when everything happened, I felt guilty. We all saw the way she treated you, but none of us said anything. You didn't deserve that." I shook my head. "It's not your fault. Some lessons you can't learn through warning. You learn them by walking through fire." She smiled in soft understanding. Then she said something that stayed with me. "Maybe the fire wasn't meant to burn you. Maybe it was just meant to show you who couldn't stand the heat." I laughed quietly. "Maybe you're right." We started seeing each other more often after that. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into small moments that didn't need labels. It wasn't instant and it wasn't dramatic. And that's what made it feel right. There were no games, no tests of loyalty, no pretending to be more or less than we were. Just honesty, comfort, and the quiet understanding that neither of us wanted to perform anymore. Sometimes when we'd sit in silence, she'd look at me and say, "You're too calm." That's weirdly attractive. And every time she said it, I smiled because that used to be the exact sentence Mia said at the start. Only this time, it didn't sound like a compliment laced with condescension. It sounded real. A few weeks later, I got an email from HR at my old company. Apparently, Mia had tried reaching out to a few people I worked with, asking if I'd set her up. They told her to stop contacting staff. That was the last time her name ever crossed into my world. I didn't respond. There was no satisfaction in her downfall, just closure. Sometimes silence is the only answer that truly ends a story. Months passed. Seasons changed. One night, Jenna and I were walking home after dinner. The air was cool, the kind that carried the faint scent of rain on concrete. She slipped her hand into mine and said, "Do you ever think about her?" I thought for a moment. "Not really," I said. "Sometimes I think about that night. Not her, just how it felt." "How did it feel?" she asked. I smiled. Like the first breath after holding it for too long, she nodded, squeezing my hand gently. We walked in silence for a while. And in that moment, no music, no noise, no applause, I realized something simple. Peace doesn't come when everything's perfect. It comes when you stop giving power to what broke you. A few days later, I found the paper bag she'd left that morning after the dinner, the one with the silver necklace. I'd thrown it in a drawer and forgotten about it. I opened it, looked at it one last time, and then dropped it off at a donation box on my way to work. It didn't feel like letting go of her. It felt like letting go of the version of me that tolerated less than I deserved. She once said I was below her level. Maybe she was right. Because where I am now, calm, grounded, genuinely happy, she'll never reach. And I'm okay with that. Because some people climb for status. Others grow for peace. I chose peace,